Good morning, everyone. Anyone who happens to watch this. You. It's rude to point. I shouldn't point. Quote of the day. Halfway through, almost, the first month of the first year post-COVID crisis. It's still a different world that we live in. And people that stumbled on this channel or follow me, that don't already know me, are trying to change something to create more happiness and fulfillment in their life, to find happiness, to define happiness, to change, to self-develop, to change their life, their circumstances, to be willing and able to change, to function the best possible given all limitations and all circumstances, to find a light at the end of the tunnel. People don't stay unhappy. I didn't stay unhappy. I still don't find myself unhappy and unfulfilled because I want to be. Of course not. Nobody wants to be. I've been working for, it's going on my third year of intentional self-work to improve my life, my mental health stability, my interpersonal relationships, seek, define goals, fulfillment, happiness, stability, calmness, centeredness, manage my mental health, and generally just lead a more holistic, balanced, and happy life. And drag you all along in the process in case anything I say hits a mark and helps you along. If you already know me, and people in general are always growing, they're always at least changing. Change isn't necessarily growth, but they're always changing. They're always struggling. They're always dealing with some circumstance, internal or external, whether they follow me just because they're familiar with me or not. You're all handling this thing called life to the best of your abilities. And whether you're new or old to the channel, I'm sure that you have battled for yourself. If you haven't, start to battle for yourself. Start to make conscious decisions to work toward a better, happier, more balanced, more fulfilling life. Better mental health, better self-care, better relationships, better financial position, better a happy and successful life as you define it. Something that's going to fulfill you and be yours, not anyone else's definition. But it takes a lot of work, especially internal work. And you may have been working at this, such as I, for a while. People that know me and people that don't. People that just stumble on this video and people that have been on the channel for a while. You may have been working on change, working on change, and not seeing the results. Oftentimes in our own life, we are too close to the forest to see the trees. It's just a blur. We can't really get a good objective look at our own situation. And when we make these changes, these little changes in our life, in our mentality, in our mindset, in our emotionality, in our reactions, in our behaviors, in our habits and situations, whatever efforts that you have been endeavoring to do, they're like planting seeds. Little seeds of change. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time and a lot of tending to get these changes to stick, to become habitual, to become a regular part of your life, your character, your being, and the way you interact with others, the way you react, the way you operate, and who you are. And after that, it further takes more time to see the benefit of 1,000 hours of habituated progress. You gotta water that seed, tend to that seed, care for that seed, nurture that seed to make sure day after day after day it begins to sprout. Eventually, it becomes large enough, like a snowball rolling down a very large mountain becomes a landslide, to see a change. Don't give up. Don't think it's a fruitless endeavor to try to make your situation better, to try to make yourself better, to try to seek fulfillment and happiness before you are no longer on this plane of existence, just because you put in work and you haven't seen the benefits. It takes patience and continued effort over a long period of time for us to be able to notice the difference. Other people outside of us will notice the difference before we notice the difference in ourselves. And if you have trusted others that you can endeavor to ask, who know you well, to point out ways that you might have grown over the last couple of years, that you might be better over the last couple of years, that can be a huge uplifting motivation to help you carry on. Because you may feel like you're doing all this work and you're not reaping any of the rewards. Now, I spoke a lot before I got into the quote, because this is where we are when we try to change for the better. Whatever it is that we're trying to change. Rarely ever in life are you going to stumble on some monumental, dramatic, and drastic overnight change that just switcheroos your life and your mindset and your behaviors and your everything is just overnight success and happiness and fulfillment. Rarely ever does that happen, and even if it does, say you meet the love of your life and you've grown enough that you are a stable individual for relationship. The meeting is the beginning. The wedding is the beginning. The marriage is the work, the maintenance, the watering. You still will have to put in the work to see the reward. And it's a slow, evolving process. So, we are still in the position of those who cut the forest, the garbage, the negativities, to the best of our ability, cut our bad habits, remove toxic people, toxic behaviors, have begun decimating the things that were decimating us. We are still in the position of those who cut the forest and planted some seedlings. Started little kernels, little sprouts, they may be sprouts by now, of good, of improvement, of things moving in the right direction. And now we're surprised that there is no shade. I do. Am I working on making the trees grow? I am. But it cannot grow in 1 year. We are still in the position of those who cut the forest and planted some seedlings. And now we're surprised that there is no shade. Do I worry that there is no shade? I do. Am I working on making the trees grow? I am. But it cannot grow in 1 year. I forget the exact amount of time, but a bamboo tree, you plant it, and you water it, and you water it, and you water it, and you water it, and for like 9 months to a year, it looks like this dirt. It doesn't even sprout out of the ground. And then in 1 year's time, it shoots up many, many feet in a year, that last year. But for the first many years, it's beneath the dirt. And all the effort, all the tending, all the care and protection and effort and stoking of that little seed by the farmer tending the bamboo for years shows no evidence of anything. And then finally, there comes a point when all that effort cultivated, continuously, carefully tended to, over and over and over and over and over again over time, skyrockets to an unarguable change. Change doesn't happen overnight. Don't give up. Don't worry too much because you've worked so hard to work on yourself, to be a better character, to be a kinder person, to be more stable, to improve your financial situation, to be a more involved parent, to whatever it is that you have been working at in your life over the last few years, and you're not seeming to make any headway. It takes time, consistent care, over and over and over and over again to those ventures, and eventually your effort will sprout benefit that you can feel and notice yourself, that you have shade to hide under from the positives that you have created in your life. But it takes diligence, time, resilience, consistency. Don't give up because you haven't seen a tree yet. Don't give up because the bamboo is still under the ground 4 years running and you don't think you're making any headway. That's the way of life. That's the way of improvement. Nothing happens overnight, very rarely. And if it does, we're often not equipped to handle it because we haven't tended to ourselves and our surroundings and our situation in a way that sets up a good foundation for managing that next level of awesomeness that we're trying to invite into our life. We're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do with it because we're ill-equipped. The time prepares us, the time familiarizes us, the time equips us, the time disciplines us to be able to manage the tree when it grows. Because just like you're now in a good place to get married, because you're a whole solid individual with another whole solid individual. Now you've met your tree. That tree still needs to be trimmed. That tree still needs to be watered. That tree still needs to be tended to and invested in consistently. But without the foundation of being the right kind of person, with the right kind of life, the solid foundation, you wouldn't be able to tend to that marriage properly, that person properly, that commitment properly, without all the waiting. So don't worry if you haven't seen the kind of progress you're expecting. Patience. Patience is an absolute must when you're trying to make your life, yourself, your health better. Diligence, tender love and care of the seeds that you plant. Don't neglect or forget them and just toss them out. You have to foster them, you have to water them, you have to tend to them every day and weed out the negative stuff that continues to pile up and try and suffocate the seeds that you've planted. And you have to foster that, and you have to be patient and trust that eventually your efforts will sprout. And by the time they do, you will be in a place where you can handle what you've grown. You can manage the situation that you've found yourself in through your forward progress because you have grown in your tending period. So don't worry. You are doing the right things. And if you question if you are, because you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't notice it, even though you've been trying so hard to make the right decisions and do the right things for some time, ask a trusted, close person what they've seen in you over the last couple of years. And if they can tell you how you've grown already and you just didn't know. Patience. Love you guys. Keep going, it's working. Your bamboo is just still underground. Good morning. Goodbye.